In a remote valley surrounded by towering mountains stood an ancient fortress. It was a place shrouded in mystery and silence. People from nearby villages spoke of strange happenings within its crumbling walls. The fortress was said to be the site of an unimaginable battle. A battle not fought by men, but by forces of nature themselves. This tale begins many centuries ago, when the fortress was still vibrant and alive with activity. The fortress had been constructed as a beacon of human ingenuity. Its walls were thick, its towers reached toward the heavens. Within its boundaries thrived a bustling community. Farmers tended the fields. Artisans created wonders. Warriors trained for defense. Life in the fortress was harmonious. But deep beneath the foundation of the fortress lay a secret that none could have imagined. Beneath the fortress was an ancient chamber. In that chamber was a powerful artifact. It was called the Core of Balance. Legends claimed the core held the equilibrium of the elements. Fire, water, air, and earth were kept in perfect harmony by its energy. No one alive at the time knew how the core had come to be. They only knew that its existence was vital. For centuries, the core remained undisturbed. Its energy quietly sustained the balance of the world. But then came the greed of men. Word of the core spread beyond the valley. Kings and conquerors sent armies to claim the fortress. They believed the core was a treasure of immense value. Each attack weakened the fortress. But the artifact remained untouched until the fateful day when one conqueror succeeded. His name was Lord Maldrick. He was known for his unrelenting ambition. Maldrick breached the fortress and found the ancient chamber. Against the warnings of his advisors, he touched the core. In an instant the balance shattered. The elements began to rage. The winds howled with fury. The earth trembled beneath their feet. Fires erupted uncontrollably. Water surged and flooded the lands. The valley became a battlefield. The fortress that once symbolized unity became the center of chaos. Villagers fled as the elements fought each other. Entire forests were uprooted by the wind. Mountains crumbled under the pressure of the earth's rage. Rivers broke their banks and swallowed the land. It was as though the world itself had declared war on humanity. In the midst of this elemental war, a lone figure emerged. She was a woman of humble origins. Her name was Lira. She had lived her life in the shadow of the fortress. Lira was known for her kindness and her unwavering faith. She believed that the world's chaos could be calmed. She carried no weapons. She wore no armor. Her only tool was a prayer. Lira entered the fortress while the elements clashed around her. The winds threatened to sweep her away. The ground shook beneath her steps. But she pressed on. Her heart was filled with determination. She reached the ancient chamber. The core lay shattered. Its fragments pulsed with chaotic energy. Lira knelt before the fragments and began to pray. Her voice was soft at first. It grew louder with each word. She prayed for peace. She prayed for the balance to return. Her words resonated through the chamber. The fragments of the core began to glow faintly. The elements outside paused their battle. The winds stilled. The earth stopped trembling. The fires dimmed. The waters receded. Lyra's prayer reached its peak. The fragments of the core began to rise. They fused together slowly. The core was whole once more. Its energy radiated outward. The balance of the elements was restored. The fortress and the valley were saved. Lyra's prayer had accomplished what armies and kings could not. The valley recovered in the years that followed. The fortress stood as a reminder of the chaos that greed could bring. People returned to the valley. They rebuilt their lives. The story of Lira and her prayer spread far and wide. It became a legend. The fortress was no longer a place of war. It became a symbol of peace. Generations later, the fortress remained. It was a silent witness to the passage of time. The story of the elemental conflict and Lyra's prayer continued to inspire. The valley thrived once more. But deep within the fortress, the core of balance lay hidden. Its energy remained a reminder of the fragile harmony that held the world together. Centuries passed and the fortress aged further. The valley's inhabitants revered the fortress as a sacred site. Yet as time went on, whispers began to emerge. People claimed to hear faint sounds within the fortress walls. Winds would howl on calm nights. The ground would rumble briefly before settling. The elements seemed restless once more. A group of scholars arrived in the valley. They sought to understand the fortress and its secrets. Among them was a young historian named Kale. He had spent years studying the legends of the core. Kale believed the core's energy might still be unstable. He proposed a daring expedition to the ancient chamber. Though the villagers were hesitant, they eventually agreed to guide him. Kale entered the fortress accompanied by a few brave villagers. The once bustling halls were now silent. Dust covered the floors and walls. The air was heavy with the weight of history. As they descended into the chamber, Kale felt a strange pull. The core sat in its place glowing faintly. It seemed dormant, but Kale knew better. Kale examined the core closely. He realized that its balance was slowly eroding. The centuries had taken their toll. He also discovered an inscription on the chamber wall. It spoke of a guardian's duty. Someone was meant to protect the core and maintain its balance. Lira's prayer had been a temporary solution. A permanent guardian was needed. Kale shared his findings with the villagers. They decided that the valley's people would take on the role of the guardian collectively. Rituals were established. Prayers were offered daily. The villagers pledged to live in harmony with nature. They understood that the core's balance reflected their own actions. Under this new guardianship, the valley prospered. The elements remained in harmony. The fortress became a center of learning and reflection. People from distant lands visited to witness the valley's unity. The story of Lira and the core continued to guide generations. It reminded them of the power of faith and the responsibility of stewardship. As the years turned to millennia, the fortress stood strong. Its walls weathered but its spirit unbroken. The core of balance remained at peace. It became a beacon of hope, a symbol of what humanity could achieve when united. And so the tale of the fortress and its guardian echoed through time, a reminder that even in the face of chaos, balance could always be restored.